The CPLP. You may have never heard about this organization. It stands for Comunidade dos Países de Língua Portuguesa, or Community of the Portuguese-speaking countries. It has 9 member states: Portugal, Brazil, the islands of Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Equatorial Guinea, the islands of São Tomé e Príncipe, Angola, Mozambique, and Timor-Leste. Before 2014, there were only 2 associated members, the island nations of Mauritius and Senegal. In 2014, there was Georgia, Japan, Namibia, and Turkey. In 2016, Slovakia, Hungary, Czech Republic, and Uruguay. By 2018, more joined, with Andorra, Argentina, Chile, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the UK, and Serbia. In this year of 2021, more countries are scheduled to join, these being Spain, Greece, Ireland, Romania, Peru, Paraguay, India, Ivory Coast, Qatar, Canada, and the United States of America. But how did this organization went from this to this in only 7 years? To understand this, we have to go to its origins. Portugal was the first global powerhouse, having settlements and colonies all around the world. After many battles with other European powers, an internal crisis, much was lost, leaving Portugal with Brazil and some other colonies in Africa and Asia. After the independence of Brazil and with the repartition of Africa, Portugal turned to its African colonies until its independence of 1974. And just like this, for the first time in more than 500 years, Portugal was confined to Europe. And for a while, Portugal was all alone, until discussions with Cape Verde in 1983 gave way to the idea of a political union of some sorts with the Portuguese-speaking countries. In 1989, with much help from the Brazilian ambassador José Aparecido de Oliveira, this idea gained momentum. And in 1989, Brazil hosted the 7 Portuguese-speaking countries, creating the International Institute of the Portuguese Language, marking the beginning of CPLP. And so, in July 17, 1996, the heads of state of these 7 countries met in Lisbon and the CPLP was born. Well, if you're paying attention, you might have noted something interesting, is that I've been repeating 7 countries, but in the beginning I said there was 9 member states. So, where are these other 2 member states? This takes us to another part. The 8th member, Timor-Leste, was abandoned by the Portuguese in 1974, after the dictatorship in Portugal had ended and the independence was given to all colonies. After this, Indonesia immediately invaded Timor and started a genocide that lasted decades and killed 1/3 of the Timorese population and destroyed 95% of schools, prohibiting the use of the Portuguese language. In 1999, 300,000 Portuguese people protested in Lisbon, creating a human chain in front of many embassies like the USA, France, Russia, and even United Nations. This pressured the international community to act and made Indonesia give Timor its independence, becoming an independent country in 2002, immediately joining CPLP. I love this story of Timor, so if you are interested, I could make another video just this topic. The 9th member to join was Equatorial Guinea, a country that was colonized by Portugal until the 18th century when the colony was given to Spain, becoming the only Spanish-speaking country in Africa. Due to its isolation, the country wanted to join CPLP, and in 2014, with much pressure from Brazil and Angola, this country became a member, being the only member state so far that does not speak Portuguese as its native language. Although, after joining, it has turned into an official language and is being taught in schools. This country is the 3rd largest producer of oil in Africa, being this one of the big reasons why Brazil and Angola, both oil-producing nations, wanted this country to be a member state. Besides these 2, Namibia and Uruguay are 2 possible candidates to become member states. This is happening because both Namibia and Uruguay have small populations that border giant countries that speak Portuguese, Angola and Brazil. For this reason, Portuguese is even becoming a mandatory language in Uruguay. This entry is being discussed since 2018 and might take place in the next few years. But now, you might be wondering, Why are so many countries wanting to join this small community? The answer is not so obvious, and it has to do a lot with diplomacy and soft power that these countries have. Let's look at the hard facts first. For one, there's the military power that these countries have. Alone, they're not that strong, but together they combine an army personnel with over 400,000 active soldiers, becoming one of the largest armies in the world. The community does have a defense cooperation protocol and have done military exercises together. If CPLP was a country, it would be the 6th largest economy in the world, and it would be the 4th biggest oil-producing nation in the world. Besides this, there's the fact that Portuguese is the 6th most spoken language in the world and the 5th most used language in the internet. But now, looking at the real strength of the organization. Although there's only 9 member states, they are very influential players in their continents. Brazil being by far the biggest player in South America, Angola challenging South Africa for the dominance in sub-Saharan Africa. In Europe, although Portugal is not the richest, most populous, or even the strongest country, it does have a lot of sway with the big European powers. This diplomatic power has been used by the organization, and the organization is responsible for electing António Guterres as the Secretary General of the United Nations, Roberto Azevedo as the Director General of the World Trade Organization, and António Vitorino as the Director General of the United Nations Migration Department. For the weaker countries in the community, they received much support from Portugal and Brazil, as it was the case for Timor, who received many Portuguese and Brazilian troops, as well as humanitarian assistance and even educational support by sending professors to Timor. The community also helps bring political stability, like is the case in Guinea-Bissau, helping to stabilize the country and trying to guide states toward democracy and human rights, like in Equatorial Guinea, which was forced to abolish the death penalty in the country. However, one of the biggest areas of cooperation is science and education. Ever since the crisis of 2011 for Portugal and 2014 for Brazil, the countries have turned to the CPLP as a means to increase its prosperity. In 2014, it was signed a protocol that made studying and working in other countries in the community much easier, especially in Portugal. Students from the CPLP can now apply to Portuguese universities with grades from their high school exam, and they also pay less than other foreigners. They can get Portuguese citizenship much faster, and because of this, the number of foreign students in Portugal has increased 86% in 4 years, being the main group of students Brazilians. The protocol also focuses on helping to provide cheaper access to Portuguese universities for the African CPLP countries than Timor. This is a very good and important step, as education is the main factor for developing nations. The CPLP is growing into a functional bloc, and the fast-growing number of associated countries is one indication for it. But also, the policies being implemented, like the Acordum, for the mobility in the CPLP, which will facilitate the mobility inside the community by a lot. One of the proposals is for the free movement for up to 90 days and to facilitate students and workers with their visa process and renovation, essentially making moving inside the community much easier and faster. This can be seen as a step forwards towards a Schengen-type situation. It is very clear that the CPLP is turning into a functioning bloc. What makes it so weak at first sight is also what makes it strong. By being a small community of member states with such strong ties to each other, makes this organization function much more easily and better than other big organizations like Mercosur or even the Commonwealth. In this organization, there's 2 main drivers with 2 very particular driving skills. Portugal has the ex-colonial parent style figure and responsibility in the community, but Brazil is like the older son that helps to guide the family. Brazil has the prestige, the potential, and the giant cultural influence capable to make other countries easily follow its needs. It's also very important to notice that although Cape Verde is a small country, it's a very important one. It is the most stable democracy in Africa and has for centuries been seen by Portugal as one of the most loyal and stable parts of the Lusophone world. Because of this, Cape Verde is very important to help guide the other African countries towards prosperity. Angola is the greatest of all African potentials in the Lusophone world, and its prosperity will heavily influence the future of the community, as it is expected that by 2050, Africa will hold the most Portuguese speakers in the world. It's also very important to notice one thing. China is very active in the CPLP. Although it's not a member, China uses Macau as a hub to communicate with other Portuguese-speaking countries. For example, in 2003, it was created the Forum for the Economic and Commercial Cooperation between China and the Portuguese-speaking countries, and every year Macau hosts a summit for the commercial and industrial cooperation of the two. Many deals are made between China and the CPLP, including scholarships, science partnerships, commercial trade, and even foreign aid. So, although China is not an official member, for many purposes it acts as one. And a very similar situation could take place with India, as the current Prime Minister of Portugal is of Indian descent, and he has been very efficient to bring India and the community together, and opening a gap for Goa to join as a member of some sort, creating a very similar situation as Macau. And so, with Goa and Macau, the CPLP is able to have strong influence in the Asian continent with the two most populous countries in the world. It is because of this that I believe that if all countries stay focused and cooperate and take the right steps forward, the CPLP could easily become a very strong and powerful bloc in the world stage. There is no longer any empires, and the CPLP is not about bringing the Portuguese Empire back. It's about creating a brotherhood, one that can stand together against any challenges. I am a firm believer in the CPLP project, and I hope to one day see a prosperous and strong Lusophone community, where everybody is equal and we can all enjoy each other's differences, countries and foods. I hope that we can all rely on each other for help, as there is more uniting us than dividing us. In the words of Fernando Pessoa, a minha pátria é a língua portuguesa. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know if there is anything that you would like me to explain more about the CPLP, as there's a lot going on and I try to make it as short as possible.